The Temporal Paradox Podcast, Newton Meets Einstein, Episode 1, When Gravity Bent Time. Welcome to a very special episode of the Temporal Paradox Podcast. Through an extraordinary twist of space-time itself, we've brought together two of history's greatest minds for an impossible conversation. In one corner of our studio, if we can even call it a corner in this curved space-time, we have Sir Isaac Newton, the man who gave us the laws of motion, universal gravitation, and calculus. The genius who showed us that the same force pulling an apple to Earth keeps the planets in their orbits. And in the other, Dr. Albert Einstein, the physicist who reimagined space, time, and gravity itself. The man who showed us that mass and energy are one, that time is relative, and that gravity is not a force, but the very geometry of space-time. Gentlemen, this is a conversation 250 years in the making. Sir Isaac, as our senior by centuries, would you like to begin?
Good day to you, Dr. Einstein, and to your listeners. Though I confess this peculiar arrangement of speaking into these mechanical contrivances for an unseen audience is most irregular. Yet no more irregular, I suppose, than finding myself displaced from my proper century to discourse with a gentleman who claims to have overturned the very foundations of natural philosophy. I am Sir Isaac Newton, Fellow of the Royal Society, Master of the Mint, and, I venture to say, architect of the mathematical principles that govern all mechanical motion in God's creation. Through decades of careful observation and mathematical rigor, I have demonstrated that the cosmos operates as a vast, divine clockwork, with absolute space as its stage, absolute time as its measure, and universal gravitation as the invisible chain binding all matter together. Yet I am told, Dr. Einstein, that you propose space can bend like India rubber, that time moves at different rates for different observers, and that my instantaneous gravitational force is but an illusion. Most troubling of all, you deny the existence of absolute motion and absolute rest, the very framework upon which all rational mechanics depends. Pray tell, sir, if there be no fixed stage of absolute space, how does one explain the simple experiment of the rotating bucket of water, where the surface becomes concave through absolute rotation? And if time itself can slow and quicken, by what divine chronometer does the Almighty coordinate his creation?
Ach, Sir Isaac, first let me say, Newton, forgive me. This is what I wrote when I realized my theories must supersede yours. But you see, I stand on the shoulders of a giant. Your laws, they work beautifully for nearly everything we experience. An apple falls, planets orbit, magnificent. But your bucket experiment, this is wonderful question. You see rotation relative to what? You say absolute space, but I ask you to imagine this. You are in a train, moving smoothly. You drop a ball. To you it falls straight down, but to someone on the platform it traces a curve. Who is correct? Both? There is no privileged observer, no cosmic stage. Now imagine you wake up in a windowless elevator. You feel your feet pressed to the floor. Are you standing still on Earth, feeling gravity? Or are you in deep space, accelerating upward at 9.8 meters per second squared? You cannot tell. This is my equivalence principle. Gravity and acceleration are indistinguishable. As for God's chronometer, well, the Lord is subtle, but not malicious. Each observer carries their own clock, and all are equally valid. The universe doesn't need a master timekeeper. It's far more elegant than that.
Dr. Einstein, your elevator Gedanken experiment, a thought experiment as you call it, is clever sophistry, but it proves nothing. You claim one cannot distinguish between gravity and acceleration, yet this is manifestly false. Consider this. In your accelerating elevator in the depths of space, drop two balls from different heights. They fall parallel, maintaining constant separation. But here on Earth, under true gravitational attraction, those same balls converge as they fall toward the Earth's center. The inverse square law demands it. Your equivalence is local trickery, not universal truth. And this business of relative motion, you invoke trains and platforms, but you deliberately ignore the crucial distinction. When I speak of absolute space, I speak not of arbitrary reference frames, but of the fixed arena in which the laws of mechanics operate. My bucket rotates relative to the fixed stars, to the very fabric of God's creation itself. You say each observer carries their own clock. Preposterous. If this were so, how could the heavens maintain their clockwork precision? Jupiter's moons, which I myself have calculated, arrive at their eclipses precisely when my equations predict, not a second early or late across centuries. This would be impossible if time itself were elastic. Tell me, sir, if space can bend and time can slow, why does a thrown stone follow a perfect parabola? Why do the planets trace ellipses as Kepler showed? Your curved space should distort these sacred geometries. Yet my mathematics predicts them perfectly without any need for your relativistic complications.
Ah, Sir Isaac, you catch it precisely. The tidal effects, you are absolutely right. My equivalence principle holds only locally, in small regions. You see, this is not weakness but profound insight. It tells us gravity is not force but geometry. The curvature of space-time itself causes these tidal effects you describe so brilliantly. And your planetary predictions? They work wonderfully because at low speeds and weak gravity, my equations reduce exactly to yours. Like Russian dolls, your mechanics lives perfectly inside relativity. But you see, there is one planet that whispers secrets. Mercury. Its perihelion advances 43 arcseconds per century more than your theory predicts. For decades, astronomers searched for a hidden planet, Vulcan, they called it. But no, it was space-time curvature near the sun. You ask about parabolas and ellipses? Beautiful. In flat space-time, far from massive bodies, they remain perfect, just as you calculated. But near the sun, space curves slightly, and Mercury's ellipse slowly rotates. We've measured this. GPS satellites must account for both time dilation from gravity and from their motion, or they would drift by kilometers each day. You see, Sir Isaac, your clockwork universe doesn't break. It becomes even more wondrous. Each piece keeps its own proper time, yet they dance together in perfect harmony. The mathematics is not complicated. It's elegant.
Mercury's perihelion. Yes, I confess this has troubled me. I spent years, refining my lunar theory to account for every perturbation. Perhaps Mercury requires similar attention to interplanetary influences, perhaps undiscovered matter near the sun. But to invoke the bending of space itself for 43 arcseconds per century. Dr. Einstein, this is using a cannon to kill a gnat. You would overturn the entire edifice of natural philosophy, deny the Creator's absolute framework, all for this minute discrepancy. Where is the proportion? Where is the practical merit? You speak of satellites and this GPS, yet for 3 centuries, navigators have crossed oceans using my equations. Astronomers predict eclipses decades hence with my formulae. Engineers build machines of extraordinary precision following my laws. What practical advantage does your complexity offer that justifies abandoning such successful simplicity? But most troubling, sir, are the theological implications of your proposals. If there is no absolute time, no fixed stage of space, what becomes of divine providence? How can an omniscient God observe all if each observer has their own truth? You reduce the cosmos to mere relative perspectives. This way lies chaos, not enlightenment. I have spent as many years studying scripture and divine chronology as natural philosophy. The universe reveals God's design through its absolute order and mathematical perfection. Your relativity seems to make each man his own measure of truth. Is this not the path to atheism, sir? Does not your theory remove the very need for a prime mover?
Ach, Sir Isaac, you touch my soul with this question. You know, I too believe in God, but perhaps not your personal God. I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of all that exists. The universe is not chaos but sublime order. God does not play dice with the universe. This I maintain against even the quantum physicists. You ask for practical merit. E equals mc squared. This simple equation shows matter and energy are one. A tiny amount of matter contains enormous energy. The sun itself proves this, converting matter to light through fusion. And yes, This knowledge has unleashed both terrible weapons and the promise of unlimited clean energy. 1 gram of matter could power a city for days. But you see, relativity doesn't remove God. It reveals his subtlety. Instead of a cosmic dictator imposing absolute time, we have something more profound, a universe where the laws themselves are absolute, but manifest differently to each observer. The speed of light, the laws of physics, these are the same for everyone. This is the true divine order. The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. Through mathematics, your calculus and my field equations, we glimpse the mind of God. Not a God who needs to wind the cosmic clock, but one whose very thoughts are the laws of nature. Is this not more wondrous than mechanical clockwork?
E equals m multiplied by c squared. Mass becomes energy. You speak of weapons that could destroy cities from a mere gram of matter. Dear God. What Pandora's box have you opened, sir? In my time, gunpowder was fearsome enough. But this is the power of the sun itself unleashed upon earth. Yet I must confess, this equation intrigues me deeply. You use c, the velocity of light, as your fundamental constant. I too spent years studying light. My optics demonstrated that white light contains all colors, separable by prism. I showed light consists of corpuscles, particles, traveling through space. But here's what troubles me. You claim light velocity is constant for all observers? How can this be? If I chase after a beam of light, surely I must observe it traveling more slowly relative to myself. This violates the most basic principles of addition of velocities. And yet, I developed my method of fluxions, what you call calculus, to describe continuous change. Your equations, do they not use similar mathematics? Perhaps there is a deeper connection here. My inverse square law appears in your energy equation through the speed of light. Curious, most curious. I begin to see, Dr. Einstein, that your work may indeed extend mine rather than destroy it. But I maintain that absolute space must exist. Without it, how does one explain inertial forces? How does the universe know which reference frame should experience centrifugal effects? Your mathematics may be elegant, but God's creation requires firm foundations, not relativistic quicksand.
Ja, this is exactly the paradox that haunted me as a young man. Imagine, you are racing alongside a light beam at nearly the speed of light. By your velocity addition, the light should appear almost stationary, no? But then Maxwell's equations would fail. Light would no longer be an electromagnetic wave. Here's the profound truth. Light must travel at c for everyone. Otherwise, the laws of electromagnetism would differ for different observers. Imagine 2 scientists, one on Earth, one on a speeding rocket. If light speed varied, they'd get different results from identical experiments. The universe would have no consistent laws. You mention your bucket and absolute space. Ernst Mach, brilliant philosopher, suggested something profound. Inertia comes not from absolute space, but from all the matter in the universe. Your water curves because it rotates relative to the distant stars, the galaxies. The universe itself defines the inertial frame. Sir Isaac, your fluxions, your calculus, this is the language of relativity. I simply applied it to spacetime itself. Your 3 laws of motion, they emerge perfectly from my equations at low speeds. Your gravitational constant g, it appears in my field equations. You didn't just give me shoulders to stand on, you gave me the very mathematical tools. We are not adversaries, but collaborators across time. You revealed the clockwork. I merely showed the clock itself can tick differently. Your foundations remain. They've just become more wondrous.
I begin to glimpse it, Dr. Einstein, like seeing a distant shore through morning fog. If light must travel at the same velocity for all observers, then space and time themselves must adjust to preserve this constancy. It is as if God has chosen light as his absolute, not space or time. But, sir, what experimental proofs have you? In my Principia, every proposition was demonstrated through observation. The tides, the precession of equinoxes, the orbits of comets. Surely you don't expect natural philosophers to accept such radical notions on mathematical elegance alone. You speak of atomic clocks in satellites, but these are mechanisms beyond my ken. Have you simpler demonstrations? Can you show me time slowing, space contracting? Or must I take this on faith, like transubstantiation? What troubles me most deeply, Dr. Einstein, is this. If there is no absolute truth, no fixed reference, how can we claim to know anything with certainty? I spent my life seeking God's absolute laws. You tell me even simultaneity is relative, that two events simultaneous for one observer may not be for another. How then can we speak of cause and effect, of truth itself? And yet there is beauty in your conception. The laws themselves become the absolutes, the speed of light, the principles of physics. Perhaps God's design is more subtle than I imagined. Not a stage with actors, but the very rules by which the drama unfolds.
Proofs? Ja, we have many. Cosmic ray muons, tiny particles created high in the atmosphere. They live only microseconds. By your physics, they should decay before reaching Earth's surface. But they arrive. Why? Because at near light speed, time dilates. They age slower in our frame. In 1919, Eddington photographed stars during a solar eclipse. Their light bent around the sun exactly as I predicted. 1.75 arc-seconds. Space itself curves near massive objects. Atomic clocks flown on airplanes tick slower than those on ground. We've measured nanosecond differences. But Sir Isaac, causality is preserved. No signal travels faster than light. Cause always precedes effect in every reference frame. The order of causally connected events never changes. Only simultaneous, spatially separated events appear differently to different observers. The universe maintains its logic. You ask about certainty? Here I must confess, quantum mechanics troubles me deeply. It says God does play dice, that at the smaller scales nature is fundamentally probabilistic. Young physicists like Heisenberg and Bohr accept this, but I cannot. The theory says a lot, but does not bring us any closer to the secret of the old one. We know so little, Sir Isaac. Dark matter, dark energy. 95% of the universe is unknown to us. Perhaps someone will show that both our theories are approximations of something deeper. This is the beauty of science. We build on each other, always reaching toward truth, never quite grasping it completely.
Stars' light bending around the sun, particles living longer at great velocities. These are extraordinary claims, yet if multiple experiments confirm them, I cannot dismiss them. Hypotheses non fingo. I frame no hypotheses without evidence. If the evidence speaks, I must listen. Dr. Einstein, I must share something with you. My theory of gravitation, this instantaneous action at a distance, it has always troubled me deeply. I wrote to Bentley that it is so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it. Yet I could devise no mechanism. You say gravity is not a force but curved geometry? This actually resolves my greatest doubt. No mysterious action across the void. Objects simply follow the shortest path through curved space. It is elegant, I grant you. More elegant than invisible forces I could never explain. And now you tell me quantum mechanics troubles you as it suggests God plays dice? So you too face a theory that offends your deepest convictions about divine order. Perhaps this is the fate of all natural philosophers, to solve one mystery only to uncover 10 more. We are more alike than different, Dr. Einstein, both seekers of divine order in nature, both using mathematics as our language, both troubled by the implications of our own discoveries. You stand on my shoulders, yes, but perhaps one day another shall stand on yours, seeing even further into God's design. Your relativity may overthrow my absolute space and time, but it preserves what matters most, that the universe follows knowable laws, that mathematics describes reality, that human reason can comprehend the cosmos. This is no small victory, sir. This is the glory of natural philosophy itself.
Sir Isaac, this handshake bridges 3 centuries of discovery. You gave us the first universal law, that heaven and earth obey the same rules, This was revolutionary. Before you, the celestial and terrestrial were separate realms. You unified them. And the future? Ah, such wonders await. My equations predict regions where space-time curves so strongly that nothing escapes, not even light. Carl Schwarzschild found these solutions in the trenches of the Great War. We call them black holes. And gravitational waves, ripples in space-time itself, spreading across the cosmos when massive objects collide. Perhaps one day scientists will detect these waves, hear the universe singing as black holes merge billions of light years away. Perhaps they'll discover what happened in the first moments after creation, your prime mover's first act. Perhaps they'll unify all forces into one beautiful equation. But Sir Isaac, none of this would exist without you. You didn't just discover gravity. You showed that the universe is mathematical, rational, comprehensible. Every physicist since, Faraday, Maxwell, Planck, myself, we all follow the path you blazed. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. You wrote this, but you are the giant. To the continuum of discovery, from your falling apple to curved spacetime to whatever wonders await. The universe's mysteries are infinite, but so is human curiosity. And that, Sir Isaac, that is truly divine.
Dr. Einstein, this conversation has been transformative. I came prepared to defend my fortress of absolute truth, yet I leave understanding that truth itself evolves, deepens, transcends. Were I granted life in your century, I would study these quantum mysteries that vex you so. The smallest scales of reality, what secrets they must hold. Perhaps there I would find the mechanism behind gravity at last, the deeper unity you seek. My alchemical pursuits sought the fundamental essence of matter. Your atoms and particles fulfill that ancient dream. To those who will come after, remember this. Every generation believes they have found final truth, yet each discovers they have merely lifted another veil. My absolute space became Einstein's relative spacetime. Perhaps his spacetime will become something yet more wondrous. But this is not failure. This is the greatest triumph of human reason. Each truth contains the seed of the next. My laws remain true within their sphere, as Dr. Einstein's will within theirs. We do not destroy the past. We encompass it in something larger. So press forward, question everything, even, nay especially, what seems self-evident. God's creation is inexhaustible in its subtlety. What appears as contradiction today may tomorrow reveal itself as profound unity. I have glimpsed, through Dr. Einstein's eyes, a universe far stranger and more beautiful than I ever imagined. Yet it remains what I always knew it to be, a cosmos governed by reason, revealed through mathematics, comprehensible to the human mind. This is the true miracle, not that God created a clockwork, but that he created beings capable of understanding it. The apple still falls, the equations still balance, the mystery still calls, and we still answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just witnessed something extraordinary. A meeting of minds across 3 centuries, a conversation that could never have happened, yet somehow needed to. Sir Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein have shown us that science is not about replacing old truths with new ones, but about deepening our understanding layer by layer, generation by generation. They've demonstrated that even the greatest revolutionaries in science are part of a continuum, each building on the work of those who came before. Thank you for joining us for this special episode of the Temporal Paradox podcast. May we all continue to question, to wonder, and to reach for the stars, whether they be fixed or moving at the speed of light.